The next question: how do you think technology will bring advancement to Indonesia as a country? Okay. Next question. I think we have a couple more questions. So Arya, I'll pass it to Arya.
You've got a very nice house. You've got a very nice house, by the way. Looks very fancy.
Let's start with.
Is Arya?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello. Yeah, so let's start with the questions from the audience. From Ibu Yayas. For Martyn, tourism in everywhere has died now because of COVID. With location intelligence and the analysis, what things you can do to help the tourism market, for example, in Bali? And
well, it's going to take time, obviously.
Sorry. Let's combine with the other question because it's quite similar. The other one from Ibu Melissa. What Bhumi can offer for retail building development and house property development that need locacy system? Not only support good area, what else Bhumi can do?
So going back to the first question about Bali, it's very difficult at the moment because we can't change the regulation in Indonesia. And it's going to be a long time before people are allowed to travel, etc. Going forward, there will be ways that you can use mobile phone apps on mobile phone to track people's interests. So to try to find out where people are going again, as in not only the travel, but are those people from Bali or are they tourists to Bali? Are they domestic tourists to Bali? So we can track all that information, for example. So we find out, are people going again, start to collect increasing data. But at the moment, I mean, it's not something we have a direct solution to. We can obviously suggest where the better places are in Bali, which is recovering first, based on that data. But all we are doing basically is collecting the data and making advice based on that data. So yeah, the first thing we could do is work out, based on that data, are domestic tourists returning to Bali? Where are they returning to Bali? What is their interest? We can map out that, we can model that. Coming to the next question from Melissa, this is our bread and butter, basically. We predict for XXI Cinema, we predict everywhere they should open a new cinema based on big data. So we look at commonalities of what's worked for them in other cities, and we write an algorithm, whether it's they were close to a hospital, they were close to a school, and that algorithm we can back into a secondary city and we can predict where the best place to open is based on their particular interest. Sorry, based on what has worked for them before. So for any kind of, for the harvest, we are basically, we are grading every single office block. First of all, Jakarta, then Indonesia. For XXI Cinema, again, we are actually grading them all. So A, B, C, all over Indonesia. So our bread and butter is basically allowing, based on what's worked for them in the past, our module, they can put their data into our module and it will spit out recommendations for them based on where they should open. And again, that grid can be down to a 10 square meter grid, where the best place for them to open is anywhere in Indonesia, based on the data, their data combined with our data.
Okay, thank you, Martyn. So last question is from Ardi. Over to you, Ardi.
Okay, this is the last question, and if there is any more question, please drop some question on the chat box, and we can answer that on the article when we publish that. So last question: what is the one or two or three key takeaways for being a founder? Let's start with Martyn.
Well, again, I guess I have a bit of a different perspective because I'm old.
I think age does not matter.
Well, it's also it's an upside down startup. So you know, we had everything in place. Then we went and got the people. We had the PMA, we had the partners, we had the connection and the resources, and then got the people. But I think the team is actually incredibly important. I've been incredibly blessed both from partners and as in staff. I mean, the way we did this by employing guys off LinkedIn to start with, and how they've brought their friends in, we've not really used any recruitment because we haven't found it what we want. We're looking for a different kind of person, maybe. We're looking for the person with a specific goal and not really what everyone else is looking for. So the people, I think, is key, number one. Number two, your technology. I absolutely believe that your intellectual property is essential. I don't believe all these businesses doing exactly the same will survive 20 years. I read a lot of stuff. I think the guy I really like is the guy from Salesforce. He said, no, everyone told him it's not scalable. He couldn't get the money off anyone. He was mocked by the VCs. And guess what? He's worth about $10 billion at least. So again, your staff's important. Your technology, I think, if you're a deep tech company, it's got to be good. I'm taking my software to government. If it doesn't work, I'm going to be in trouble from my partners and stuff. So again, it's essential that you have the right software. And I think for me, being single-minded, I get VCs calling me up, telling me I'm doing it the wrong way, I'm doing it this, I'm doing it that. But again, I've got an issue because, as far as I can see, I've got a career, I've already been successful in what I did. So I don't need telling I'm wrong all the time. Personally, I think I'm right. So that's all really matters. So for me, being single-minded is very important because listening and taking advice off everybody is a waste of time. I look at some of these groups where they just take advice off him and he's my advisor. Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go with this? You've got to be sure of what you're doing and stick to it. That, from my point of view, and that's the way I am.
All right, thank you, Martyn. And how about?
Thank you, Andy. Whoever you are, appreciate it.
All right, how about Mas Meidy?
Yeah, so three things. Yeah. I think the first one is you won't become founders if there's no people who trust you, who really believe in you and want to do what you want to do along the way. So the first one, I think, is support from your people, from your team. And then the second, I think, once the team is already growing, the founders become somehow less relevant. We have to think much more into the organization, because organization is a complex system which consists of people, human beings, and then the alignment, direction, the motivation, the communication, the teamwork. It's become how we create the organization. The founders is become much more irrelevant once the team is already growing. Of course, the founders still, and the CEO and the directors position is still directing the company, but the whole result from the company will be much more when we think about the organization. And then the third, as a personal, I think it's a continuously life learning process from all aspects that we can learn. Many things happen, many things challenging me, many things that I can learn from a lot of mistakes and success also. So I think that's 3 points for me.
All right, thank you. We just have one more question for Martyn and from YouTube viewers, from Ricky Marbun. Martyn, how do you contribute to make logistics in Indonesia efficient?
Well, this is why we need to have the technical people involved in this. But we have a full data science team that actually, based on the big data, and they use that big data. Actually, I'll bring in Azza now, because I'm actually sat next to one of my product managers, and I'm just the finance guy. So Azza, can you? Yeah. Sorry, just bring Azza in. Yeah.
Yeah, for logistic, hello everyone, my name is Azza. So for logistic, we actually have a module for it. So it's exactly what we are doing now. We are developing a module for logistic in Indonesia. So you can choose whether you need to use truck or bike or anything else with our logistic module. So when you use your fleet management, so you use, let's say for example, we use truck, you need to go with the right road, right?
So it's based on the data. Right?
Yeah, so we have that kind of restrictions, that kind of rules to be used for your logistic. So you might do your logistic better, more efficient, and of course, with less and cheaper money for that.
So for example, Danone, they have like 37,500 places where they deliver water to. And effectively what we have to do is, based on the data, all the small warung, we can make suggestions based on historical data of their data combined with our data. We make suggestions of the best route, but also we also have the rules of the road. So sometimes with like Google Maps, for example, they don't have the rules for the road. So if you're driving a truck, you can't get through. So again, or it might be a one-way system. So we basically have the rules for the road, and we combine it with the data in the area. So demographic data or any kind of data that affects the journey. And that's basically, the number of warungs in this particular area, the population age, historical. So in the last 5 years, the water sales have gone up in this area, etc. And basically, the data scientists combine the data to do modeling, so they can make suggestions of the best possible route.
Okay. I hope that answers the question. And I think that there will be all, and I would like to close. Thank you for having us. Thank you for coming to the webinar, and especially thank you to the speakers. Thank you, Martyn, and thank you, Mas Meidy.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ardi, Arya.
Thank you, Mas Meidy.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Meidy. We will have to catch up at some point and have a proper conversation when this when this nonsense is all over. Yeah. Meidy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it. And I'll
Thank
see you.
And we will send follow-up emails to the audience who registered through Goers, and there will be feedback form and AWS application forms. And if there is any more question, participants can fill in the form in the follow-up email. And stay tuned to siar.com and Siar News YouTube channel for the recordings of the event. And you can also send questions to redaksi@siar.com. Thanks again. Thanks, Mas Meidy, and thanks, Martyn. And
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks,
Thanks,
everyone,
guys.
for.
Thank you, Martyn.
Thanks,
Thank
boss.
you.
And when you decide to leave the house, let's go for a coffee.
Sure.
See
Monday.
you.
So
Sure.
for the audience, if you have feedback on the preference for the time, please let us know, because some people want it after dinner, but some people want it during the office hour. So we're trying to get feedback on the perfect timing.
And when you do the presentation or when you send out the information, please send out the slide. I didn't talk too much about that because I didn't want to just read from there, but it gives a brief description of what we do. So yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay, boss.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the audience.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.